All right, it's my privilege to bring in Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney. He could do a lot of things, including golf, including fly a fighter jet. It's on his brand new book called Fly Into the Wind. It's there to inspire you, and by telling his story, hopefully it'll improve your personal story. Dan, great job on the book. Thanks so much for letting me host this and have people have a chance for you to talk about your book.
Yeah, so this is probably the smallest thing you've ever done, but it shows what a good human being you are to take care of the little people as well. But no, you had a pretty neat day. You were like, hey, I'm going to be a couple minutes late because I'm with Matthew McConaughey. So just being in the same hour of time block that you spent with, one of my favorites on planet Earth is pretty humbling.
Well, for one thing, the person you really look up to is Ainsley, and I know you're jealous of me every day. So let's be honest there, Dan.
Yes, this is true, but I'm me and the rest of the world, so that's not unique.
So a couple of things. Before we take the questions, you got a ton of questions here. Congratulations on the great launch. Maybe we should talk about a little bit about the book, and then we get to the questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's perfect.
All right. First off with you, you're the only person in the world, no kidding, a professional golfer, PGA golfer, and a fighter pilot. Right away, that's a great dual title. How does a humble guy stay humble with those two skills?
Well, it's in the military. There's a saying that beatings will continue until morale improves, and so this whole book is about flying into the wind. So I think the wind has kept me very humble in life. But it's interesting. So I've told this story. When I was 12 years old, I told my dad, I was like, my dream is to be a golf pro and a fighter pilot. And he proceeded to ask me which way an airplane takes off. And I was 12, and I'm like, I think it's into the wind. And he was like, yeah, that's exactly right. And, certainly faced a ton of headwinds, but I had this idea, and I remember like going to school as a kid, and I'm just like, I'm going to write the ultimate job description. And that was on my piece of paper, golf pro, fighter pilot. And, I've been blessed to do both of those things for the better part of 20 plus years. And I love them. They're huge parts of my life, and obviously a huge part of this, huge part of the book. But we evolve, and God takes us places we never imagined we'd go. And sitting with you on a virtual signing for Fly Into the Wind with Brian Kilmeade is certainly on that list.
Oh, thanks, Dan. Both require you stay on top of it. You can't be a professional golfer if you don't keep playing, and you can't be an elite fighter pilot if you don't keep practicing. And meanwhile, you're the father of 5, and you're a husband. So that takes a pretty full things to do list before you even wake up.
Yeah, and I laugh. I mean, obviously, I'm not qualified to do hair. I've got 5 daughters, and a girl dad is a special calling. But the thing I've learned probably on this journey is that girls are by far the superior gender. When I wrote this book, I thought a lot about my wife and Jackie, and they're the CEO of what matters in our lives, and you've got one of those in your life, so you can go off and conquer the world, and you never have to worry about your 2 dogs and your kids and what's going on at home. And moms are the ultimate task managers, and really this book is about structure in our lives and how in the chaos we never lose sight of what really matters to us.
Understood. And lastly, before I start taking some questions, Into the Wind. You hit turbulence in your life. It hasn't all been blue skies, pun intended. How do you deal with the turbulence? And do you want to share some of those stories?
Yeah, and so I've gotten a lot of comments early on that when you start out in this book, I share very openly, like the absolute darkest, most awful part of my life that was, kicked off by almost killing myself in an F-16. And I was, at the top of my game, one of the best fighter pilots, had just gotten back from Iraq. And, I made a complacent mistake in the aircraft that was, a second from potentially causing me to lose my life. And it was this ominous trigger of kind of everything starting to fall apart, from, building a golf course here in Tulsa called the Patriot that was going bankrupt. And so I'm trying to save my house literally for like 6 years. Folds of Honor, which, people look at now and say, wow, 28,000 scholarships and $130 million out the door, rewind when, we're trying to make it to the next month, right? Let alone, make sure we're a generational foundation. And that in my life, brought all the stuff that comes along with it. Depression, it's, puts challenges in your family life, your marriage. And, thankfully I navigated through these life storms, and out of that, I generated, my own code of living that I call CAVU, which is inspired from a fighter pilot acronym that stands for Ceiling and Visibility Unlimited. So those infinite blue skies out my window here in Owasso right now, that, man, our lives are unlimited. And if you can fight through the challenging times, and you really understand that, every day is going to be defined by what you do when it doesn't go your way, there'll be a sparkle of light, right? And you'll get out of those storms and into a bright blue place of opportunity. And the cool part about this book is, whether you're getting the crap kicked out of you like I was in life, or you're winning like you do every day, Brian Kilmeade, that there's stuff in here for you. And it's really a disruptive, different view at life, and provides, I think, a great way to prioritize what's important, so that you understand, 10 years from now, when we wake up and say, hey, where'd the time go? You can answer that question. Be like, yeah, man, I fought the good fight every day because I put structure and process in my life. And before we take a question, I would, the cool part before we got online, we started yesterday at number 4,000 in America, and was on Fox and Friends with you guys yesterday. And, I've been doing this, but the book launched yesterday, and we are right now number 1 on Amazon, new release, number 1 in spirituality, number 1 in self-help, number 1 in military. And the trajectory of this book, and I think it just speaks to the fact that, man, we desperately need this at this juncture in life, where everything is so divisive at its core. This book reminds us that, we're united in more ways than we realize, and that ultimately our individual path to fulfillment lies with making ourselves better, so we can make this whole thing called the world better.
Very well put. And the other thing to keep in mind too is that while you're going through and you're being number 1, people got to have a chance to know you, and they get to know you more on Fox Nation, because you have a series. This whole Into the Wind is a series on Fox Nation. You spoke to Dara Torres, who a great Olympian, doesn't get enough credit for everything she did. You speak to a lot of people about who go through similar things and end up coming out pretty good.
Yeah, and that is, if there's one lesson to pull out of Flying Into the Wind, I interview 5 of the most successful people in the world, is that their success stems from their ability to fight through challenge in their life. And that is, such a powerful thing when you can change your mindset from looking at, man, my struggles and my challenges are a negative thing, to this is actually an energy that you can harness in your life and ascend to extraordinary places that, rarely happen when you're getting a tailwind every day. You wake up and you think that's you, and you don't evolve, and the parasitic drag that comes along with that, called our egos, which is the most dangerous thing I think any of us possess as human beings. And the show is beautiful, and it is real life, authentic advice, and people sharing, which takes a lot of courage, right? To share your struggles. Yeah. Is not an easy thing to do in the Instagram world.
Right. So you go, another reason to get the Fox Nation app and check out Dan's series and also about his book. All right, here's the first question. U.S. Air Force pilot school and training. What words of guidance, and this person's in the U.S. Air Force for pilot school and training. What words of guidance and perseverance would you have for him? Luke Pemberton.
So he's in training right now.
Yeah, a friend of his in pilot school training.
Yeah, so it's number 1. It's pilot training it's a gauntlet, right? If he's going to be a fighter pilot, and they'll spend $8 million a piece on you as a pilot. 4.8% of the people make it through. So it's very expensive. The attrition rate is high. And I asked this question to 100 fighter pilots before I went into training. I was like, what can I do to make it through? And they were like, you got to work 7 days a week, and you got to have a positive attitude. And I love this. We called it the auto nod. And so you are going to get brutal feedback in pilot training. There are no soft gloves, right? I mean, it is like you're going to get pounded, and you might do 100 things well that day. They're going to pull out the 8 things that you did wrong, and they're going to talk to you about an hour about how bad you suck. The auto nod is just this. And regardless of if you agree or you do not agree, you just nod your head and, you know, take it. And that's such a lost art. You know, everybody's got to be right in the world we live in, right? And defend my point.
Yeah.
And that's a great skill that we learn going through pilot training. And there are points in our lives where all of us need the auto nod, right? You got to figure out when you want to engage, where it makes sense to. But a positive attitude, he needs to work 7 days a week, and get really good at the auto nod, and know that, in my opinion, you know, being a pilot in the United States Air Force is the greatest blessing, one of them that I've ever had in my life. And the day I got my pilot wings, my wife put them on my chest. Never forget that moment. And he's got a great opportunity, and I pray it works for him.
Wow. Okay, great. Here's a perfect segue to the next question. Jonathan from Greenville, Texas. Do you ever wish you had been a naval aviator?
So Jonathan, you've never seen me land. So I can barely land on 10,000 feet of concrete. All that, man, it's another good anecdotal real life story. But when we were in Iraq, and I was a vampire in Iraq, so flying all night missions over there, supporting the heroes on the ground, you know, Army, Marines, and my Navy SEAL buddies like Rob O'Neill, all those guys, delivering the president's mail for them. And we would go back down the Persian Gulf on one of my tours over there. We were flying out of AUD, and in Qatar, we called it gutter, by the way, because it was a total gutter of a place. But and we would go past, and in the F-18, the Hornets in the Navy would be in formation as we're checking out and rotating in and out of Iraq. And they would make a left, and we'd see the boat out there in the Persian Gulf. And I mean, just this little teeny light in the middle of complete and utter blackness. And I would say a prayer. I'm like, thank God I am going to a big piece of concrete in AUD and not landing on an Air Force or an aircraft carrier. And it literally is, to put it in perspective, and I'll close this answer. Like, as a naval aviator, they spend 50% of their time training just to land on the boat. And then you got half left over for tactics. And in the Air Force, as a fighter pilot, the big difference is it's literally, we spend 5% of our time talking about takeoffs and landings, and 95% on tactics is, you know, delivering bombs and shooting air-to-air stuff. So
have you ever landed on an aircraft carrier?
No, God, no. Yeah, no,
okay.
No. I'm in the Air Force. I chose those wires, Air Force, right? For a reason.
You got to hit those wires, correct?
Yeah. It's 3 wires.
And the wires keep you on there.
And all they do when you make a perfect trap, this is a great point to fighter pilot land, though, regardless of Navy, Air Force. A perfect landing, they give you an okay. There's no positive reinforcement in our world.
You got it. Jill from Greeley, Colorado. What is the one thing you can do every day to change your life and mindset to achieve fulfillment and greatness? So what's the one thing or anything that comes to mind?
Jill, I don't think so I'm going to give you 3 things you got to do every day, right? For me, and you know, I get up 30 minutes very early every day, and it's my prayer time, right? I'm a very faith-based guy. Don't care if you are or not, but for me, that's an investment in my day. And, you know, ultimately my prayer is, hey, let me be a vessel of impact and get out of my own way. I think the less time we spend on ourselves, Brian, you argue with me on this, but, you know, the happier.
Because I like spending time with myself.
I know, the happier we are, you know, focused on others. I would say do something physically. I work out every day, and the benefits are unlimited of that. I've got dedicated time every day to keep myself, you know, fit to fight. And the last thing is putting service before self, and kind of goes back to my first point of focusing on others, but do something for someone else every day. And it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be folds of honor. It doesn't have to be something that big. It can be, just give your friend a compliment, give your wife a compliment, stop and do something for someone else every day. And I promise you, there's this amazing kind of irony that I've unlocked in my life, that when you're helping someone else, that you're actually the one being helped. So awesome question, Jill.
Which brings me to Teresa from Owasso, Oklahoma, proud to work at Folds of Honor.
So Owasso, it's Owasso, Oklahoma.
What did I say?
I don't know. You said something
Not close.
like that. It sounded like
How dare you judge me?
Something.
Now you have to do something nice for someone because you just insulted me. That hurts.
Yep.
Do you remember Brew from the 180th?
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is Jeff wrote you from Hamler, Ohio.
Yep, 100%. So I think that's one of the greatest things about serving in the military is just the band of brothers and sisters that you have, and the relationships that you make, and you form relationships with people when you're fighting for this country. It is next level stuff. So yeah, 100%.
All right, this is maybe incomplete. Michael from Gilbert, Arizona says, I want to pass these traits on to my children and grandchildren. What are the best recommendations on how to do so? I guess the traits you outline in your book.
Yeah. So this is a President Bush 43 story. Nothing to do. I talk about him in the book, but I love this story. So he was at home, and as a young kid, I don't remember what age he was. Let's say he's 12 years old, and Barbara walks in and catches him smoking a cigarette in his room, and he eats the cigarette, right? So and puts it out, and she's going nuts, right? And she goes and gets President Bush 41, who's not the president at this time, and says, hey, I caught Georgie smoking a cigarette. And she's just reading the riot act at him, and she's like, well, Barbara, you smoke cigarettes, don't you? And the roundabout answer I'm giving you is the best way to pass on these traits is don't be a hypocrite, right? If you expect your kids to follow you and live in your footsteps, you have got to walk the walk, not simply talk the talk. So like our governor of California that was at the big dinner, right?
Right, exactly.
This doesn't work, man.
Without a mask, indoors.
Yeah, right. And you just, that's it in life, right? I don't care. Don't preach it if you don't want to preach it, but if you're going to preach it, you're held to a higher standard. So if you're wanting to pass these traits on to your kids that are outlined in this book, I would say do your best to live them, and they will follow by example much more than they will ever what you tell them to do. Very
interesting. All right. Very good advice. Dwight from Montana says, Colonel Rooney, I'm ordering 2 books, one for my son, Captain Mark Thompson, and one from CW4. What does that mean?
It's an Army rank. Yeah. Chief Warrant Officer. Yeah.
Jake Weiland from CH-47 Chinook drivers, and just returning from 12-month deployment at Camp Taji, Iraq. Both left wives and children at home. Whatever you can say to them would mean a lot. Thank you very much. Dwight Thompson, retired Army, just to dad. So two books.
So I'm number one, honored to sign them for both. I think that's the highest calling when I have an opportunity to sign a book for someone else that has served in the military. And you can't help it. 12 months over there, right? That is really selfless duty. And I go back to myself. The hardest thing I ever did in combat was kiss Jackie and my girls goodbye. And for them sounds like making it safely home. What a blessed holiday that will be. And it's just so easy for us as Americans to go on and forget that we're not, we got people deployed all over the world, even though we're not in active combat, and the mainstream media does not cover this stuff anymore. We are fighting each and every day. And I think that's also the beautiful thing about the Folds of Honor mission is we're taking care of these families who, have been left behind or living with somebody with a disability. So I'm honored to sign a book for them. Salute them. Thank you for your service. And Chinooks, for the record, that's not really flying. That's beating the air into submission. But
that's great. All right, here's another. So there's two books there. One's Dwight, and the other one, the top of the letter seems to have disappeared when you roll forward. So maybe everyone at Penguin could help me out with that. As I roll past, the note kind of disappears. So if you guys want to, it's one that said, one is Dwight at the bottom, Dwight Thompson. I'm not sure of the other. Okay. What one tip could I give to my high school students? I'm a high school health teacher. This is from Karen in Pennsylvania.
Let me finish this really quick.
Now, if this was Fox, I'd roll up My Pillow commercial so you can catch up.
Oh, that's good. I have a My Pillow, by the way. So one piece of fitness advice, I kind of touched on this before, but I think as fighter pilots, during our training, this is a key one of the pillars that, I've always maintained, especially as an old guy flying fighters. I'm be 48 next month. And, staying physically fit is super important. And I would go like one more level on this and to go to the book. So one of the concepts I talk about in the book is fulfillment. And I spell it F-U-L-L, not because I'm from Owasso, Oklahoma and don't know how to spell, but it's about what are you full of in your life? And people, some are like, man, you got so much energy, you're going all the time. Brian gets this, he's going all the time. But what are you putting in yourself is exactly what you will get out. And you wonder why you don't have a lot of energy if, you drank 3 beers, you binge watched Netflix, and you ate a bucket of fried chicken, and you get up on, Thursday morning, you're depressed. And I look at it very simply, like every interaction is like, what am I filling myself up with? And you're filling yourself up with, a good workout regimen, what you're eating, what you're reading, what you're watching on TV, the people that you have in your life. And that is, ultimately how you find fulfillment. And I really think that, physical fitness obviously is a big piece of that, but there's a much more holistic approach. And, some days workouts are good, some days they're not. But the only thing I hold myself accountable to do for my workouts is showing up. Right. Just the act of physically walking into my gym in the morning. And sometimes I, lay around and watch Fox and Friends and I have a terrible workout. Some days I have a great workout, but I show up every day.
All right. Good job. All right. Here's one from Brian in Illinois. Because I have a purpose-driven company. Earlier in 2020, note we have the same mission of Folds of Honor. Any advice for how to grow and scale? Also, FYI, I serve as regional director with the St. Louis Fold of Honor chapter. Thanks for your inspirational leadership. By the way, our company can be found at www.commitmentcoffee.com.
Oh, I love it. Coffee is the way to grow your company. I drink a lot of coffee. Okay. We win wars on drinking coffee. St. Louis, huge thank you for serving in St. Louis. Obviously, our biggest partner there, Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser is located there, Schnucks. We're doing huge work in St. Louis. So thank you for that. I don't think there's like necessarily these magic moments of growth in life. And I think a lot of people quit and they get discouraged by the fact that it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I look at Folds as an example. We started 13 years ago, and it's been flying into the wind. I mean, it really has. And you wake up 13 years later, you're like, oh my gosh, it was 28,000 recipients, and all these funds we've raised. So I think two things I would give you the advice is, hey man, embrace the fly into the wind mentality, right? It's going to be hard. But understand that the resilient spirit and how you react in these challenging moments in life when things aren't going your way are going to define, the success of your business. And then another thing that's not in the book that I talk about a lot is be the last guy in every room. And for 13 years, I've been the last one out of virtually every room I'm in. And whether that's
what does that mean? You just work every person?
Yeah, I'm the last guy to leave. I shut it down, right? And that's whether it's a speech I'm giving and people are like, oh, you gave your speech, you can leave. And I'm like, no, I'm going to sit here and sign books till I'm the last one here. Or it's a Folds fundraiser, or, it's a dinner. There's this thing. It's like, and it's intentional. I'm going to be the last one out the door. Because I just think there's this awesome, universe out there that conspires for you when you're in the fight, and staying there and not ducking out early, and men running stuff in life pays long-term great dividends.
Right. Lastly, real quick, what are your thoughts about the Masters this past weekend?
Okay. Dustin Johnson, great friend. It was fantastic to see him win. But I'm going to tell you the rest of the story is one of my favorites. God rest his soul, Paul Harvey used to do so well. So my really close friend, Greg Norman, who is the subject of one of my episodes on Fox Nation's Fly Into the Wind. Greg has the dubious distinction of he's lost 4 major championships in playoffs, by the way. I mean, you talk about flying into the wind, and is one of the most successful golf entrepreneurs, business guys, a tax life, incredible dude you'll ever meet. And he calls up Dustin Johnson 6 months ago. And he says, he watched him on TV. He said, DJ, your putting is so bad. Meet me at the Medalist this afternoon. And so DJ meets Greg Norman at the Medalist, and he gives him a putting lesson. This started him just catching fire. So he wins the next 2 weeks, and really hasn't looked back. And all this time, I would text Greg and I'd be like, hey man, DJ won, great job. And I said, I never hear anything about your putting lesson. And he would always text back the same thing, in tuku, which is Japanese for good done in silence. And DJ won the Masters, and they mentioned Greg, Ian Baker Finch, after he had won. They're talking about, hey, he got this great putting lesson from Greg Norman. And it's a powerful lesson to all of us. The purest form of good is good done in silence, right? And I always look at the 5,000 families we sent to school this year. I'm lucky if I meet 250 of those families. But the pure good is not expecting anything in return. No thank you, no affirmation. And that was my favorite story about the Masters, that Greg finally got a little pat on the back, but he'd never look for it because he knows the power of doing good in silence.
Right. Yeah. You want to do it because it's the right thing, not because of acclaim. It's that other thing, the axiom very close to that is, what do you do when no one else is watching? Right.
Yeah.
And you grade out extremely high in both those. Dan, that's why your book's doing so well. People want to learn the message, want to know what fuels you. And now they have that idea. Go and check out his Fox Nation special named after the book, and check him out all over the channel, because I know you'll be on over the weekend. So, and when people want to get the book, Dan, where do they go?
So Amazon is one click away, right? But it's pretty cool. Like I Googled it yesterday, and I just, for everybody watching out there, and anything's possible. I'm in Owasso, Oklahoma. Nobody, right? And you type in Google and it just pops up all over the place. But it's Walmart, Target, Christian bookstores, Amazon.
And collectibles.com/fly.
Collectibles.com/fly. And I got that sheet right here. And those are the signed copies that I am signing, tons of them here. And but Brian, thank you for hosting the live signing with me. You are here from another mother, and I always end by saying this about you. Not good. You do good in silence, but I can brag on you. One of our truly great personal supporters of Folds of Honor, not just with his personality and television, but through his through tithing and giving donations to Folds to change lives of these military families. And this is a message that's going to take Folds of Honor and be the voice of so many of these families that that have been left behind on the field of battle. And that is one of the many reasons I'm so excited about the word getting out. Is it's a love letter to Folds. And when people read this, man, they are going to be all in. And so we're going to keep growing our squadron and keep changing lives together.
Wait a second. I got one more question. How about this? This is from Ben Leslie at Folds of Honor. How is it you're so good at golf, yet you routinely lose $5 to one guy over at the Patriot?
I can't believe we put that on television. That is, hey, have you ever heard the term fake news, Brian Kilmeade?
Okay, I have.
That is fake news.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to send one of my kids to school based on the winnings off of Ben Leslie. So awesome.
Congratulations on everything. Keep it going. And if we want to do this again in a couple of weeks, because this went so well, let me know. We'll do it after Thanksgiving again, because the book's going to stay right through the holidays.
You're the man.
Take care, everybody.
Love you. God bless.
All right,
Thank
back
you.
at you. Congratulations.
All right. How's that? That good for you?
I am sitting here with the one and only Jackie Chan, global superstar, and he is signing all of these books. Are your hands tired?
No, tired, but I'm happy.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm
really,
so
really
happy
happy.
to hear that.
How do you feel?
Good. I'm excited. This is the first time I've done something like this before, a live signing.
Where do I want to go that I've never been? Oh, we're thinking about, not thinking, we're putting it in motion. I'm going to go to Indonesia on my irresponsible tour this year. I'm excited about that. I've never been. And there's been a heavy demand for me there. So we're going to go. We're going to go to Indonesia and I'm going to make people laugh in Indonesia. That's how I roll. How do you roll? I can't make this up. Wayne, you got your Indonesia pants? I decided it about a good 3 weeks ago. You'll see it on the schedule soon, so I suggest you go get your pants for Indonesia, because you're not going to wear them stupid pants. Where do you think Indonesia is? India. Yes, we out.
You can see that I'm signing it. This is not some machine scribbling my name. This is my actual human body scribbling my name. So, all right, there we go. First book, signed.
Biggest pet peeve? Men that talk to me with spinach in their teeth.
What can I do while at work to help lower my stress and improve my health?
One musician do you most admire?
I love you all, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Bye.
Much love. See you.
See you soon,
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you around the world. Woo!
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone here.
Bye, guys.
Say goodbye, Mary.
See you in the morning.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm gonna go get drunk.